Hi there. I just want to do a video. And this video is going to be called and about how my spiritual awakening manifested. Now it was at the age of 24 when this awakening happened. It was completely unexpected. I was very, very depressed. All the way up to that point, and one day I sat down and had enough. And in this having enough, it was like a very powerful soul kind of thing that came through me from within me. And ever since that moment, I was getting relentless information. Well, a lot of healing. Before the information that I received now was a lot more, but there was still information. At the start of the awakening, it's a lot louder now, because what happened is the more I was healing, the more I was open to divine knowledge, you could say. And yeah, it was completely unexpected. I didn't know what was happening to me. Obviously, after the initial experience, I looked online to see other people that have had similar experiences. I found out that what I went through was a spiritual awakening, where everything became nothingness. That was one of the first things, actually, that I started thinking, this is nothing, perceiving that this is nothingness. And if you think of it, reality must manifest from nothing, but I'll talk about the reality thing later. I was perceiving all different pieces of information, which I'll be speaking about later in this documentary film. But that's what it was. A big, massive experience, and it's still going on today. I'd say that it was 2 weeks, but it was 2 weeks of intensity, because I didn't really know what was going on. And once I calmed down and realised what was happening, I wasn't panicking so much. When it first happened, there was a lot of fear, because I didn't really know what was happening. I didn't know whether I was dying, because, back then, I had a lot of problems. And I did some things to myself that I'm probably not going to talk about in here, or maybe I will sometimes. I'll have my own way of saying it, but there was a lot of mind problems and emotional problems. And I didn't really know what was happening. And for about 2 weeks, I was in a lot of fear of not knowing what was happening. A lot of physical changes were going on. I was shaking. One of the things that someone says to me at the time, you're shaking all the time, what's wrong with you? And I wasn't on drugs. There wasn't any drugs involved or anything like that. For weeks, and I remember saying to people since then, is no drug even would affect you for that long. So, yeah, but it was a very intense feeling when it first happened, loads of energies. And I was getting shown, I think, visions of myself in the future as well. There was that going on. There was me trying to understand what was happening. And that's just it. I actually believed for a while that I had a soul switch. I used to talk about this a lot. I thought I had this theory that what happened to me was that the soul had went out of the body and a new soul had entered. That was a theory I had in my head for a while. And I thought, because everything changed so quickly, it was like all of a sudden I sat down, everything changed. My whole reality changed. And I thought, if you had a soul switch, that would happen. Because the new soul would take on all the memories, therefore, but it would change, everything would change suddenly. But now I know that isn't true, because it's like I talk about, that everything is actually one. There is no separation. Everything is all one thing, you see. So I realised, this awakening showed me, one of the first pieces of information that it was telling me was that everything's nothing. And everything must start from nothing. Meaning one infinity. There's never a separation. We only experience separation because awareness presents the illusion of separation. And, that's one of the things that this awakening showed me. But what it's doing, what the awakening is actually doing when it happens to you, it's changing your awareness. That's all it's changing. You know, we basically go through experience, but then the soul, when it's time to wake up, is changing your awareness. And it's all different to you, and you're freaking out because you've not been used to this new picture, you see. And that's just it, you know. And, you know, it's just changing your awareness. And of course, it's very strange when this starts to happen, you know, and you realize that life is basically a dream. That this is all just a dream, and that life, reality is a dream. It's not really real. And your soul consciousness is what decides your experiences. And it's all perfect, you see. It's all perfect. The reason it's all perfect is because if you deal with infinity, that means, infinity means that this moment has run itself an infinite number of times, meaning it's made itself perfect because it's had forever to run itself. So it's like me doing this movie and doing it an infinite number of times. It's only going to be perfect. You're getting the forever perfect version. That's how reality is, what I've realized from this awakening. And that everything's just a dream. And that we're going somewhere, but we've already been there. It's already happened, you see. But yeah, this big awakening manifested from nothingness. Yeah, completely unexpected. And later on in this documentary, you know, I'll be talking about other things. But yeah, this awakening manifested from nothing. Obviously, I was meant to get it when I did. Before that, it was a lot of depression. All different drugs and all different things I was doing. You know, to try and make myself feel better, you could say. And, you know, I probably, you know, I'm a lot different now, you could say. A lot of people that know me think my personality has changed a lot. But that's because if you're happier, you're different, you see. But I'm just going to end this video there. I'll be doing other videos on this, obviously, this documentary. And thank you for listening and watching. Thank you very much. Thank you. Where I think humanity is going is the way it's meant to go. I think that humanity is going through a global awakening. You know, as I say a lot in my posts that I do on the internet, videos, whatever, and the smart grid, the AI, all that's the 5G. Is a panic. I think it's a panic because of the global awakening. I think it's obvious to see that that's what it is because of the fact that they're getting out there so quickly, you see. I think that that's where humanity's going. I think there's a transition we're going through, where, you know, the system is trying to basically target those that are asleep, but it doesn't work because perception changes reality. That changes your makeup, your beingness or whatever. Everything comes from your awareness and everything. And where humanity is going. I mean, people have had spiritual awakenings all over the planet. I know because when I had this unexpected awakening, I didn't know what it was, and so I looked on the internet, YouTube, to find out people that had similar experiences. I found out that what I experienced has been going on for apparently thousands of years, people say, and that it's going on now, and that there's been people that have had these awakenings, unexpected awakenings, all over the planet. And so the whole idea is so that people have these awakenings, and then other people see it and they think, well, then people are actually just normal like me. And the ones that have had the awakenings are showing you that the power is your soul within you. That everything is you, and that I'm just the reflection of you. We're all one thing, but the power is the source, and that's within you. And so the whole point of having the awakenings is to show people that to go within. And that's where humanity is going. It's going in the direction of people awakening. And this 5G thing and all that kind of stuff is not just because to attack people's consciousness, because like I say, awareness and perception changes consciousness. That's beyond all things. But the reason they're putting it out there, and the television news is putting out there all this fear, it's to try and create fear. It's not so much of what the 5G can do to you. What's worse than what the 5G can do to you is the fear that they're trying to set up. They know that the new television news is putting this out there. It's all planned. It's to try and create crazy fear amongst asleep people. And that's what the television is all about. That's what everything outward is designed that way. But the problem is that, like I say, this global awakening, because that's shown people, that's basically taken people into not being afraid, into realizing that this is just a game that they're playing against you. And that the system itself, everything is one thing, but you have duality. And the reason we experience duality is so that our consciousness can evolve. So the dark is the light, but it's split to work with each other, like a male and a female, or two. They work with each other. And that's why separation is. And, the whole point of experiencing the dark is so you can learn from it, because you don't learn unless you have dark experiences. So we are all one. And even the dark, what we think is the dark side or the system, is actually us. It's us that make the system. And going through this path, this awakening, is teaching us that. It's teaching us that we created this mess, but we needed to do it so that we could learn and grow as one consciousness, you see. And that's where humanity's going, to like a collective consciousness, if you will. That's where it's going. It's going to the place where people understand that the stars don't come out at night, or you can't see them until it's a dark night. And but the jewel is one thing, you see. Everything's one. But like I say, awareness presents the illusion of separation, because everything comes from nothing. But if everything comes from nothing, that means one infinity, but it means it's always been. It means you've always existed. But it means there's not two, there's just one. But the awareness from the nothing, when you're aware, the point of awareness, then that means that presents separation. It's like me looking at this camera. I'm the awareness, and I'm aware of this. It's a jewel. But what creates the two, or the experience of the two is the other, or the reflection of me, or the camera or whatever perceives itself as a separate self, even though it's you. You see, so and that's what we are. Just the same thing, but the awareness presents, like I say, it presents this duality, even though it's one thing. And that's where humanity's going, understanding about this kind of thing. But the system, like I say, the system is in a panic, and that's why they're trying to get this out there. Not so much what it's going to do; it's more to do with fear against the asleep people. They're trying to get them, but they know that it's not really going to work, because awakened people are here, and people that are asleep, that are more asleep, are looking at people like me and saying, well, if he can awaken, then I'm not going to have him being more awake than me. And so they want to awake themselves, because they think that if that idiot can awaken or can ascend, then I'm going to do it. And so, and that's where humanity's going, to this global awakening, which the system cannot stop. And that's where humanity's going. But anyway, I'm just going to end this video there. And that's where I think humanity is going. Thank you much for watching. Thank you. How does one manifest a spiritual awakening? Well, the thing about my experience and my path is that it was completely unexpected. It was completely unexpected. I had enough. And I guess, how you manifest it, or how I did, was the soul comes in. And that's how anyone can awaken themselves, have a spiritual awakening, ascend. It's all to do with acknowledging the one thing that no one acknowledges. Everyone looks to win the lottery, or they look to a separate external thing, or a lover, or something. But no one acknowledges the soul. And it's only the ones that acknowledge their soul that have these awakenings. That's the only people that do that. So if you want to have a spiritual awakening, you have to just acknowledge your soul. And how do you do that? Well, you pay attention to your feelings. Because how you feel is how your soul communicates with you. It works on the level of emotion. Everything's emotion. And once you start to pay attention to how you really feel about things, most people don't do that. Most people try to give external love when they have no love for themselves. And it's a crazy thing. And most people don't acknowledge how they really feel inwardly. Once you start, the only difference with me now and the asleep me, is that the awakening was showing me what to follow, and it was just showing me to follow what's within me, your heart space, your soul, your feelings, and that shows you the way. And then what happens is, as happened to me, you go through a lot of healing, you find answers and clarity, and this clarity is like a massive energy and expands, and then you heal yourself because you find answers to things. And then this beautiful power becomes your force, and that's what you're following is your soul. And that's how you manifest a spiritual awakening. You can do it right now, but if you're not ready to do that, not everyone's ready to step up and do that. It sounds like an easy thing, just follow your soul, but go within. It sounds so easy, and to look at all and understand. And when you feel within yourself, you realize all is you. That's why the picture for this for this video is like a reflection, you know, because that's what happens when you start feeling within yourself. You realize that it's all oneness, you see. But most people will not do that because it's easier. People think it's easier. The ego tells people that it's easier to blame external things. It's easier to do that. And the truth is that it's actually not. It's actually hurting you more when you're actually doing this. You know, you might be pleasing your ego, but you're not feeling good. And when you're not feeling good, this is what manifests physical illnesses. Physical illnesses, as doctors now are realizing more and more, physical illness, everything comes from emotion. So ascension and awakening is so important for your health, because what you start to follow is your feelings. You realize that it's about serving your great emotions, and that is the quickest way to ascension. But like I say, the ego will normally tell you before you're doing this that it's this external thing you need. Everything will be fine once I get this. But it never comes. This is what most people do. They chase and chase external things, and there's no satisfaction in it. And reality is set up so to keep us looking externally. You know, and the whole idea is because the system doesn't want awakened people. Because that would be very dangerous. If the whole world was awakened, there would be no system as it is today. And so that's why the system doesn't want a global awakening. It definitely doesn't want that. But it can't be helped. You know, you can't stop God. You can't stop the divine. You can't stop what we are. You can't stop what's meant. And as I've learned from the spiritual awakening, everything is actually meant. Whatever you're doing, thinking right now, is actually what you're meant to be doing and thinking right now. It's all like, as near-death experiencers say, like a movie, like a film. And you know, near-death experiencers say that when they die, they realize that life is a movie, like a movie. Like I call it a dream. I think death is just leaving one dream and into another. But that's how you manifest spiritual awakening, just to follow that feelings, you know, do what you want to do, because you can't give love externally. When most people think that they're loving externally and they're not loving themselves, it's not true, it's an illusion. Because when you love is a projection, it's like channeling, but you're projecting your love within yourself outward or onto another person. But you can't do that if there's no love within you. But people live in this illusion that they can. And so what they do is they're going to this well and they're giving nothing. And it's tiring when people do that because there's nothing to give. And that's the way it is. You know, and that's the way it is. And so once you start to serve your emotions, you start to not give your love to people who don't deserve it, because some people don't deserve that love. And so you start to, like on my awakening path, you know, it became a thing where I was serving my emotions all the time and not giving my love to external people or situations that doesn't deserve it. Because then what I'm doing is I'm wasting my energy. And so your life in awakening, once you're serving your emotions, will become like you'll serve yourself first, your emotions, self-love, and then your love that you're projecting outward is much stronger. So that's how you manifest a spiritual awakening, is by serving your emotions within you. That's how you manifest, and that's how you ascend. That's the quickest way to ascension. Thank you very much for watching and listening. Thank you. The nature of duality within non-duality. Well, I just want to start off by saying that everything must start from nothing. And I say this a lot, everything must come from nothing. This is what I perceive all the time. This is first when I had my spiritual awakening, it was think of nothing, think of nothing. This, perceiving that this is nothing, thinking of nothing. And realizing that everything must come from nothing. Realizing that with this, and that's the truth. Everything must have a start point of nothing, you think. But if that is so, then that means you don't have a start point, because nothingness is infinite. And infinity cannot begin any place. Infinity just goes on and on. It doesn't begin, though. There's not a point of beginning. People think that, but if it really is infinity, infinity is forever going on. So if it's nothing, it means that everything is still nothing. That's why I say everything is a dream. But how does nothingness get from that to being aware? How does it become aware? Well, I would say that if you're ever aware within nothing, then because nothingness is the infinity, then the awareness is the nothing and the awareness is the infinity, which means that awareness has always been. If you've got awareness now and this is the nothing, then that means awareness always is. You see? It's like science calls it reflector consciousness. And this is something I looked up a while ago, and in this post I found on the internet, science post, it said that the reflector, they call it reflector consciousness, and they said this is the thing that within the nothing reflects back at the nothing, like a surrounding, a reflection, and that reflection then gives the perception of self, of separation. So, but then the mirror, you could say, opposite you, sees itself as separate also. But because it's one nothing, it's one infinity, the two are actually one thing. So it's actually you see, that you're looking into. But, that's basically how the nothing is aware. It's always aware, and how it becomes aware is because it perceives its own nothingness. It basically is always aware. Awareness is just infinite, but I will just want to explain why awareness is, because basically it perceives a reflection of itself. And that reflection of itself becomes a perception of, you could say, self. And it's like it's an ego attachment that becomes the self. It then identifies. It's like a baby being born. It identifies with the surroundings, and it decides its personality and so forth. And that's what an ego attachment is. Ego attachment is dealing with all your surroundings, saying, oh, I am this or I am that. And what decides what form you are is your own consciousness. That perfect consciousness is created your awareness, and that manifests what you think you are and what your surroundings tell you are, because the surroundings are you also, you see. And so that and so then you think you're separate. You think you're a separate self, perceiving everything else as separate because of what this ego is telling you. But really, if you look at it, it's all illusory, because it's come from non-existence, meaning it doesn't really exist. But then you think to yourself, but I'm aware and I don't exist. Well, that must mean that non-existence is just awareness, and that everything is just dreams manifesting from this infinite awareness. And because, like I say, nothingness is infinity, and awareness is the nothing, that means that you're just an infinite awareness, and that's it. But yeah, that is what creates the perception of self. It's, you basically, you are a perfect consciousness because you've got infinite nothingness running itself infinitely. That creates a perfect consciousness, and that perfect consciousness becomes the identity in your experience. What you think is the self. You see, it's like a perfect consciousness comes because when you've got something running itself infinitely, that means because it's got forever to run itself, it's been tried and tested infinitely, meaning it's perfect. It's a perfect. So what the self is a perfect consciousness. Even though, like I say, it's you would think it's non-existence, and it is. But like I say, the nothing, the non-existence is the perfect consciousness itself. And because you're just infinity, there's infinity of potential. And this infinity of potential, like an infinite abundance thing or whatever, that's what the system is wanting to keep from people. That's why they don't like this global awakening. But what I'm talking about with this awareness, the duality, non-duality, this is what I perceive all the time through this awakening. And it's just like that. You got non-existence, but remember, it's not like a situation where you've got nothing that becomes aware. That can never happen. The nothing can never actually become aware as a separate experience because it's infinite. And if you've got an infinity, it's always been. So there's never a separate point where it does anything. We experience separate points through an experience. But when you're dealing with nothingness, it doesn't have that. So if you've got awareness in nothingness, there's never a point where nothingness becomes aware because it's the same infinity as the awareness. They're one, you see. So it means that the nothing has always been aware. You've always existed as this perfect consciousness, as I mentioned earlier. Yeah, and I hope I explained that. When I'm talking, I try my best to explain it as easy as possible. I've been perceiving this stuff since the age of 24, 32 my birthday. So I've had every day it's been this path and explained it in my head and by myself. So I hope that I'm easy to understand. But anyway, thank you very much for listening, more of a listening and the nice picture that I put up. Thank you.